Good evening and welcome to our special elections update here on SABC News. Of course, we've got 54% of votes nationally that have been tallied so far. What will the final result be? Where will it end? What does it mean? Welcome to our special elections update. My name is Bongani Bingwa, really giving you a roundup of the day's news, the hotspots, and of course the controversies of the day. Without any further ado, let's go straight to Kliptown, where our Gillian Pillay is standing by. Gillian, a very good evening to you. It's been a busy day where you are, no doubt, as the results start trickling in and the picture of what's happening in the country and in the province has now emerged.
Very good evening to you, Bongani. Yes, we've been in this Mandela Square informal settlement, which is not far away from Kliptown. This is where we also did our election coverage yesterday, getting views and sentiments from residents here who really feel that the situation and conditions and the struggle that they've had for the past 2 decades and more have fallen on deaf ears. So we've just walked into one of the homes, one of these makukus here in this informal settlement, and we're talking to residents. I'm joined by Anna France, who's lived here for 19 years. Anna, yesterday you didn't vote, but your husband has been particularly loyal to the party that he's voted for the past few years. Why haven't you voted?
I didn't vote because I lost hope a long time ago. Anything will happen. Thing is, my children grow up here, and they also stay in the same situation like me. So I don't think that things will get better. And that's why I asked my husband yesterday morning, why you still go vote in the situation that you are in. And you, he's disabled, he's most of the time in the wheelchair. And they promised him a long time a house, but he's still here for 20 years. So I don't think anything can change. Because after 5 years, he go vote and then nothing is happening. That's why I didn't vote. Because I don't have hope anymore that anything will happen in this place.
The results are showing that the ANC is now in the lead. How do you feel about the way the picture is looking, or does it affect you?
I don't think that anything can happen.
Yeah, I can hear Gillian.
I don't think that they will do anything in Kliptown. Because Kliptown is like this for years. Mandela Square is here for about 20 years. And nothing happened, and I don't think it will happen now. I don't think so. When
you moved here, you said you didn't want to wait on government, and you guys put up structures, you bought pipes for water. Just talk to us about some of the self-development that you've resorted to as people who are living here in these conditions.
Yes, we bought our own pipes, and we have people in our community who knows how to connect water and stuff. So then we pull this water into our yards, because there's nothing we can do, because even the councillors didn't do that for us. We did it ourselves. And the illegal connections that we use is also from people outside. They connect it and we use it. We have no choice, because for me it's only that we are from South Africa, and we're not foreigners, and we have our rights. And our rights is to have electricity, water, and toilets. And if you see this green toilet here outside, my husband is disabled. If he goes sit in that toilet, the door must be open, because he cannot bend the leg. And it's not a nice thing. Children must look at him while he sits in toilet. It's bad. It's bad.
How do you feel about the conditions here? If you could have one wish or talk to a politician, what would you say to them?
Politicians, the thing is, for me, it's just that they use us as people to get in power. After being in power, living a nice life, that's my thinking. That once they live soft and drive nice cars and everything, they don't even think about us sleeping in this cold. when it rains, you don't know what to do. Especially in my situation, my husband is crippled. He cannot get on the roof. He cannot fill holes and stuff. I must do it at the end of the day. At night, I must be security guard because he cannot get out of the cuckoos quickly. So also it means that I also lose a lot of sleep in this place. So that's it. I don't believe that anything will change. I don't believe it.
Bongani, and that is Anna Franz. Her sentiments are, the sentiments of many people here who either didn't vote yesterday or who have no hope that anything will change. Looking at the picture that we see up at the IEC, where it says the ANC is in the lead, then it's the DA, and then it's the EFF. Really a sense of hopelessness here with with that big vote that took place yesterday. Anna just being a voice for many others in conditions and in struggling circumstances like this, Bongani.
Right, Dylan Pillay will have to leave it there. Of course, let's not forget Kliptown, the birthplace of the Freedom Charter. 64 years later, that's what the picture there is like. Right, so from one historic site to another. In Alexandra, residents are hoping the elections will move them out of poverty. They've been saying that the total shutdown action in the township last month as a protest against service delivery was a message they hope the politicians are listening to. Our Maheketla Mahlabe is there for us. Maheketla, good evening to you. You're in Alexandra. What are the responses you have been receiving there on the ground as the numbers slowly start to come through? Right, we seem to not have Maheketla. We can see him obviously, but all right, let's try him again. Let's see if he can hear us. Maheketla, you're in Alexandra. The numbers are starting to come through. What are the responses there?
Good evening to you. Indeed, we are in Alexandra Customer Service Center, where the counting has been taking place since late last night. We are that the counting basically started quite late after 9 p.m. After the voting stations closed here in Alexandra. We understand that this is because the voting stations were actually waiting the distribution of other voting, or rather the vote rolls, rather. So we understand that this is because the Monday and Tuesday votes were not delivered on time. Let me put it that way. And that's what we are getting here. And this is the reason why the counting here is still underway. And we understand that this might actually go on until about 6 or even 7 p.m. tonight. So what we are gathering from the ground, of course, the people in the streets of Alexandra, they are definitely excited, having voted yesterday, having cast their vote, and saying that they do really hope that service delivery issues in Alexandra will be addressed. And this is because we all know that we're coming from weeks of protest, more especially last month, where we had residents actually complaining about the slow pace of service delivery in Alexandra. Of course, we also took some walk. I remember, I think just 2 days ago at a graveyard of cemetery rather of Alexandra, where we saw raw sewage flowing in Alexandra Cemetery, and we also saw some of the graves sinking in that particular raw sewage, and residents here really still up in arms. But it's been peaceful. It's been peaceful since last night, and of course, speaking to some police officials here, they're saying that there were any incidents overnight, and they are happy that the situation has been calm as it is. So at this stage, as I mentioned, we understand that the voting is still underway here in Alexandra. But on the other side, more especially in Johannesburg, we hear that the voting has been completed, but we are just awaiting to hear at what percentage that stands so far.
All right, we'll leave it there with you, Maheketla in Alexandra. Right, 54% thereabouts of votes counted nationally. That's what the picture is beginning to look like. What will it mean for you? We've got some more analysis and roundup of the day's events. Stay with us.
Get the facts first.
In 1994, ek dink was ons almal was ook baie excited geweest.
For South Africa, art was never a good thing.
From a footballing point of view, there was never a separation.
Get to the truth.
There's still some serious issues in South Africa.
Maar ek dink die regering kan regtig probeer om harder te werk om
apartheid in Sutlile, jelle ke swake batho ba rena ba democracy. Batho ba batsho, e seng makgowa.
See what it all really means.
Ek is geel, want dit is die kleur in die verkeerslig wat vir jou sê wees versigtig.
I still give South Africa a red.
We are somewhere in between.
We're giving our democracy a green for sure. We're very happy.
Democracy Gauge, weekdays at 5:30 on SABC News, Channel 404.
The Drakensberg is the name given to the eastern portion of Great Escarpments, which encloses the central Southern Africa plateau. The name means Drakensberge in Afrikaans and is called Ukahlamba in isiZulu, which means barrier of spears. The Drakensberg escarpment stretches for over 1,000 kilometers from Eastern Cape, then forms the border between Lesotho and the Eastern Cape, and the border between Lesotho and KwaZulu-Natal. It then forms the border between KwaZulu-Natal and the Free State, and next as the border between KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga. It winds north through Mpumalanga, where it includes features such as Blade River Canyon, Three Rendezvous, and God's Window. The Drakensberg is the highest mountain range in the country, reaching 3,482 meters above sea level.
Welcome back to our special elections update here on SABC News. Now, the IEC has confirmed there were irregularities in the system yesterday in terms of the voting. They will be doing an audit to conduct exactly how extensive the irregularities were and what impact they might have on this election. We're sitting now with more than half of the votes already counted. For some analysis, we're joined in the studio by Professor SABC Ndletyana. Prof, good evening to you. Thank you for being with us. I mean, it's just been fast-paced 24 hours. As I said in my introduction, more than half of the votes have been counted. People are now beginning to crunch the numbers, look at the permutations to try and figure out what it may all mean.
I think the idea also is to see where parties got votes. It's one thing to have the numbers, but we need to explain where the votes came from. For instance, we thought that, the DA thought that they would get around 23-24%. It now turns out that they might just fall at 20 or even 19. And the question becomes, where did their support go and why?
So even as you talk through those numbers, we'll put up a graphic now. Let's put up a graphic of the national picture of what it looks like at this stage. But talk us through the numbers that you've already begun to see. That's what it is. Here it is on our video wall with almost 54% of the vote counted. Looks, as you would predict, the Western Cape remains where it was. And the national picture at this stage remains also where it was. Gauteng was, of course, the big toss-up province, but at 56%, the ANC leading with more than half the votes counted. That should more or less stabilize, should it not?
It should stabilize. If anything, really, they should get around 58. And they're lucky that they're there because things have been quite bad. It's been a terrible campaign for the ANC. EFF has grown. We've always known that they will grow. Because their targeted constituency, it's a constituency that will keep on giving because they have a permanent gripe, hardships. So long as those hardships continue, the EFF will continue to feed off that gripe.
So talk to me, I mean, we have these discussions in the build-up to the campaign, right, about the polling and the numbers we were told we might see, and people sometimes question those because, A, sometimes they are varied depending on which poll you are looking at. What does this picture that's now beginning to emerge tell us about the figures we heard before the real poll happened?
Well, some of them got it somewhat wrong. One or two polls put the ANC, for instance, at 61.
Another at 49.
Another at 49. But by and large, I think they're not entirely wrong. Perhaps with EFF, because I saw a poll that put EFF at 14 or even 15. Right? So if you average them, take all of them and have an omnibus kind of a poll, I think these are fairly correct. Apart, of course, from the EFF, I don't think most people foresaw that, and that's an interesting development because it speaks to a surge or a resurgence of conservatism. Yep.
One of the most delicious ironies of this election for me has been the gains of the EFF and the Freedom Front Plus. They seem to be the parties that have benefited the most, almost entirely for the same reason, though the two are on opposite sides of the political spectrum. Talk us through that.
That's quite ironic, actually, because I think most EFF supporters were scared off by EFF demand for radical...
the Freedom Front Plus supporters.
Freedom Front supporters were scared off by EFF wanting to take away land without compensation, and they were looking for a defender, really, someone who would stand up against the EFF, and the DA had shifted somewhat to the middle because they also wanted to reach over to the black constituency, so they didn't want to seem as if they were too moderate, not standing up, fighting for racial redress. So Freedom Front Plus presented the defender kind of, or projected itself as a defender of white privilege, so to speak, on an issue that was initially introduced by the EFF.
That's as I said, it's a delicious irony. Talk to me about the DA. We've had much focus on what the ANC stood to lose in this election. But could it be that the official opposition are the ones perhaps who walk away the most wounded from the results that we may see? And really because they, as you've just said, haven't stood firm on which direction they're going. Are they going for the conservatism, liberal ideas that they've espoused in the past, or are they trying to be more inclusive and reaching out more strongly towards the black electorate?
Well, that's a dilemma that was created by Tony Leon's presidency of the DA, when he promised to fight back, literally focusing on white voters, especially those who felt threatened by the new dispensation, who were unhappy with affirmative action and everything else. So he took up this conservative posture, became a new conservative party really of white politics. The idea was to grow his party within the white electorate, and indeed they did that. But at some point they realized that we have reached a ceiling now. If we want to take over to be a serious opposition, we needed to reach over to the black folks. Now they had to speak of things or touch on things that appeal to black folks. So that's where diversity, the possibility of embracing affirmative action came in. Helen started it, Musi took it over, and Musi wanted to take it quite far. But then it meant if he takes it quite far to embrace affirmative action and things like that, he would veer off the original message by Tony Leon. So he was now caught between a rock and a hard place. So that's the dilemma. So where does he go now?
Does he stay if these numbers drop for the DA? I mean, you're saying projections, some saying 19% when the final numbers are in. Does the DA retain him? What do they do?
That's a question. Where do you go? Do you become or remain strictly a liberal white party, or do you want to veer towards the center? That conversation has been going on. There are folks within the party who are opposed to the idea of the DA being a mass-based party, because to them it dilutes their commitment to liberalism. So that's an old debate, ongoing debate.
Yeah. Well, let's fast track then. If this picture remains as we are discussing, the ANC certainly has a few more options, not necessarily forced into coalitions, as we suspected they might have to be, perhaps even retains Gauteng with a cooperation of one or two smaller parties. What agenda does President Ramaphosa follow? I mean, there was much talk about vote for the ANC, strengthen Ramaphosa's hand within the party. Does that narrative seem to be the one that might hold for the next 5 years?
Certainly, people have voted for Cyril. The reason why, for instance, if you look at Gauteng, the ANC support for Gauteng provincially is around 49%, and yet those who are in Gauteng voting for the ANC nationally, it's about 54%, right? So they are voting. What you have here essentially is a presidential vote, so to speak. But locally, they don't want to vote for the ANC. So you do have people showing their trust in Cyril to lead. And this is the best result that the ANC can ever hope for, because it's been a bad campaign, right? So they need to do something, because they can never be forgiven. They can never get this kind of gift. 5 years down the line, if they haven't done anything significant, they'll be in trouble. So this is a sign to do something, something dramatic, and hopefully the ANC will follow him. ANC has its own dynamics, perhaps we can get into that, but the point is 5 years down the line, they need to do something, and this is a gift that they can't waste.
Do or die, because that's really the scenario they will face. Talk to me finally about the EFF. There was much made around what they could possibly gain from this moment, and you've got to ask the question, the ANC, as you've outlined, has had a really, really tough campaign. If this is the best you can do when the giant is stumbling in the dark, what happens when the ANC does get it right, when it does do the things that Ramaphosa has been promising, when he rewards the trust that has been placed in him?
Well, the EFF is appealing to a particular constituency, right? It's not, they're about populism and about radicalism. And you still have a fairly grown conservative electorate who are somewhat offended by the EFF. So you are never likely for the EFF, for instance, to get around 40 or 50 or something like that. So they've done as best as they could. But they are onto something good here. Because that constituency, the unemployed, youthful constituency, those are bitter folks. So long as their gripe continues, so long as they feel as if they are marginalized, the system doesn't take care of them, they'll continue to get those votes. But at the same time, there's a potential limit there, because young voters aren't keen to participate in the electoral system, right? And some of them, because they drop out at grade whatever before they get to standard 10, it means they don't have IDs, for instance. They never go out to look for a job. Right? And these are folks, if you look at registration numbers, most of them are not even registered, and they don't even care, right? Because they don't think that their vote makes a difference. So there is a limitation. Insofar as there are unemployed people who have a gripe against the ANC, they will catch some of those, right? But the rest are out there because they think they are disengaged, literally. So it's a two-sided, double-edged sword kind of thing.
Fascinating analysis there, Professor Mcebisi Ndletyana. Thank you very much for your insights. Professor Ndletyana, they're giving us a sense of what these figures mean. SA decides. Stay with us. We've got more for you after this break.
Every year, more and more people all around the country are saving money on their car insurance. Let's meet some of them. Tell me how you feel about being in one of these insurance ads that you've seen on TV.
It's exciting. The husband is a bit jealous.
When you did make that call, what was the experience like?
They listened to you and they helped you save.
How much did you end up saving?
Almost 500 Rand a month. With the savings, we can do more things as a family. Switch and save.
Yes! When?
Now.
Right now?
Yes.
Tell them.
It's your time, it's your time, it's your time, it's your time.
If you think it's a hassle getting a quote, put us to the test. Call or SMS now for a quick quote and make 2019 your time to save. SMS SAVE to 34473. So how did you hear about insurance?
So it was a TV ad. Normal day-to-day people hearing their testimonials and hearing how much insurance saved them. You want to put up your hand and say, that's me. I want to save money. Often you see these ads and you think, okay, well, they've been told what to say, but it's not. You
Wait,
ask the
so
question.
You're not a professional actor?
No.
How much did you end up saving?
300 Rand. Cha-cha.
If you've been with the same insurer for years and haven't recently put outsurance to the test, call or SMS now and make 2019 your time to save. SMS SAVE to 34473. So how did your path cross the insurance?
My nephew referred me because he had just switched and saved.
Yeah. How much did you save?
Over 900 Rand.
What are you doing with your saving every month?
I want to go to the Caribbean island. I want to go and get my groove back.
You need to give your nephew a shout out. Give him a shout out, Bonita.
Dale, you are awesome.
And now, she and Mr. Quipman are going to get their groove back. They've all saved. Why shouldn't you? SMS SAVE to 34473 and make 2019 your time to save.
So what happened is I made the phone call and I asked Kolisa to just call me back. He explained everything to me, a meaningful conversation.
How much did you actually end up saving?
Almost 750 rands. That's how I switched and saved. But I'm glad our paths crossed.
We could make an outsurance connection here. Have you and Kolisa gone out on a date or something?
No, it was just insurance.
Oh, is it your time?
Yeah, it's my time.
Just think what you could do with the money you save. SMS SAVE to 34473. 2019, it's your time to save.
Made a call, so what did I have to lose, right? I had the nicest conversation with Naz. He ended up saving me over 1,000 rand.
What?
Yeah.
How long were you then with your previous insurer?
Around 2009.
Nearly a decade.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money there that you could have saved, right? Let's focus on the future. If you were to give somebody advice about starting off the new year,
make 2019 yours. Have a 2019
SMS SAVE to 34473 and make 2019 your time to save.
Welcome back. You're watching our special elections update. Now, the big story of the day certainly has to be the Independent Electoral Commission saying it will look into possible irregularities during yesterday's voting. The electoral body says it's going to conduct an audit that will determine the extent of the loopholes.
The Electoral Commission will urgently conduct an audit of results and votes cast in a sample of voting stations to ascertain if double voting occurred. The audit will cover a statistically representative sample of voting stations, as well as where complaints and allegations of double voting have been received.
The IEC also says it's confident it's got a strong system in place that will expose anything untoward that might have happened.
We are confident that our system is strong. It will throw out the exceptions so that we can investigate them, and that combining that with any objection that we receive from a political party with regard to anything, not just this particular issue that we're discussing, we will investigate. And we are confident that that creates a situation where our results and our elections have integrity. But we recognize that there are concerns. We are not trying to evade those concerns or trivialize those concerns. We are grappling with them to give you the assurance that we know our system gives us.
The system has been all about this finger and the ink. Mine is still there, and that's where we're going to leave it for this quick update. We'll be with you once again tomorrow evening. The moment of truth is here. Continue to stay with SABC News as we crunch the numbers and give you analysis about what it all means. From me, Bongani Bingwa, until tomorrow, ubusuku benzolo. Good night.
Solani Mkiva